At age 12, my mother was raped by an older married cousin in his 20s. His father walked in and caught them in this gruesome, horrible act, which he later led to telling the family about it. Instead of the family being there for my mother in this horrible time of her life, they decided to cover it up and really put the blame on her. Instead of being there and giving my mom the love and support she needed, they ruined her. It kills me inside just to know that not only was she raped and abused, as horrible as it is, her family also really didn't care much about it, and they really just weren't there for her. 2 years after the rape, my mother ran away. At the age of 14, she was forced to rely and depend on somebody. Unfortunately for her, she went from one abusive relationship to the next. These abusive relationships went on for many years until she eventually met my father. After a couple years of marriage and me being born, my father really started losing interest in my mom. She didn't understand it, but her first idea was maybe she was gaining weight. So my mother's first instinct was to go back to drugs, lose the weight, and get skinny just to make my dad happy and keep him around. Unfortunately, after the weight was lost, it became an addiction. She needed a way to support this addiction, which later led to selling drugs. After years of selling, it eventually caught up to her, and she obtained a 12-year sentence to prison.
It was when I was sitting in the cell alone with the deepest sorrow that I have ever experienced. It's hard to describe. I was just completely broken, and at the very bottom, if there is such a thing as the bottom of the pit, that's where I was. It was then that I realized I needed help, and I began seeking where that help would come from. I signed up for church services in prison, and I was allowed to go to 2 a week. And I went to a Church on the Streets service one night, and they were preaching about God's love for me and about how He sent His Son Jesus to die for me, and that even me, as bad as I had been, could be saved. That Jesus Christ came and paid the penalty for my sins, and all I had to do was receive the free gift of salvation. At the end of the service, they asked who would like that gift, and my hand just shot up as if on its own. And I said, I do, I need that, I want salvation. It was at that point in my life that I felt something enter into me that was completely different than I've ever discovered in life. It was joy, it was life. The load was lifted. I lit on fire for Jesus. There were times during my 10 years of incarceration that were fun and filled with happiness for me. I remember the first time that I felt I was ready to lead someone to the Lord. I had a pamphlet in my pocket, and I pulled up alongside one of the gals at the ballpark and sat on the bench, and well, I actually had to look at the pamphlet and go through it with her. And much to my surprise, she said yes, she wanted to receive Jesus as her Lord and Savior. It was so exciting. I can't even express how much joy I felt when the Lord used me the very first time.